Hello everybody, welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back with an interesting video for you. Today I want to talk about season 2 of Alone, and I want to talk about episode 7. Now, a lot of things happen in this episode, so if you haven't seen it, please turn this video off right now because it will contain a lot of spoilers. A lot of stuff happened on this episode. So let's get talking about it. We're on day 7, or excuse me, day 19. There are 7 people left. We're gonna start the show about 2:13 in the morning with Justin. He's talking about his sleeping bag that got wet. He got flooded. His tent got, his whole shelter like water. He's showing his fire pit. There was a lot of water in it. He's a little bit frustrated. Let's move forward. About 7 o'clock in the morning, roughly, we're talking about David. He's coming in, he's talking about that he hasn't ate in 4 days. He talks about hunger, and he talks about how that hunger affects your emotional state. That's very true. When you're hungry, everything just goes downhill very quickly. Your motor reflexes, your speech, your thought process, the hunger is just crazy. Then he starts talking about the rough water, the sea, and it shows some cool angles of it on the show. And he explains that the rough water makes the fishing bad because fish don't want to be going up in this rough water getting banged against rocks and stuff like that. He's very accurate in what he was saying. Then the next thing that David says was very epic to me. I heard it and it was like, holy smokes, this dude is sharp. I'm going to quote him. He says, if you have experience in the bush, it makes you humble. I can't say that any clearer. I think that's an amazing quote. I think those words that he said right there, I mean, they just hit the nail on the head right there. If you have experience in the bush, it makes you humble. Why? Because you know what the variables are. You know what the positives could be. You know what the negatives could be. There's a lot of things that could happen, and it raises your awareness to what could happen. And so it makes you humble. It's just like martial arts. The more techniques that I learn to defend myself, the more humble I become, because I realize that my opponent could have that same knowledge. Maybe he does, maybe he don't. But in either case, I'm humble because I don't want those things to happen to me based on my knowledge. And I think the same topic, the same idea is what he's got. He knows so much about survival and so much about the environment that he's in that he's humble. He knows what could happen. Let's move forward. 7:56 in the morning, we're talking about Justin. He's trying to dry out his sleeping bag. He's really at an emotional low right now. His brain keeps telling him, quit, 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 quit. And he's fighting it. He's fighting this thing. He doesn't want to quit. So if I remember correctly, he went over to his cooking camp. He had a separate camp set up, and he was had a little fire going and stuff, and he was trying to dry out his sleeping bag. Now let's move forward. 9:23 in the morning, talking about Larry now. First thing I noticed, my first impression of Larry on this episode was he is looking skinny, looking thin, looking like he ain't eating much. I don't know if he is or not, but he's looking pretty thin. And I started to get a little concerned for him about dehydration, or not dehydration, but malnutrition. He likes his new spot. He's been finding a lot of chanterelles, which is some sort of mushroom. It's edible. He's finding them everywhere. So his diet is consisting of limpets and mushrooms. And he's still talking about the fact that this area that he's in is beautiful. So he's still aware of the beauty of his surroundings, which means a lot to me, because that means in a survival situation, when you can still appreciate the area that you're in, you still have that appreciation. It hasn't hit hard enough yet. So I've got good vibes for Larry. I think he's gonna do good. He goes and he checks his nets, no fish. So again, his diet's consisting of limpets and mushrooms. Now he found this tree trunk, right? The tree trunk goes like this, and it had like he dug like a hole in the bottom, and he decided that that would be a good place to put his fire and use that trunk as a chimney. Kind of cool, you know. Now let's move forward. Day 20, 7 people left. Back to Larry, 6:37 in the morning. the stump that he had his fire in was on fire, or burned, or it was like black, it was a coal. And so it turns out that it wasn't that good of an idea. I thought it was cool, but it didn't work out for him. Now 9:31 in the morning, Jose, right? The shot starts really funny. He's really close right here with his mustache. He's got these little scissors. He's trimming his mustache. Cracks me up, right? So then he starts talking about he's gonna go out and he's gonna work on the boat today. He wants to put the ribs in, the structure of the boat, the ribs. And so he starts talking about how cedar would be a good wood to use for the ribs. So he's got the cedar, he's cutting them out piece by piece. He's got to do a lot of them. So he's dipping them in the water, and then he's bringing them over by the fire, and he's using steam to help bend them. You know, he doesn't want them to break, so he's wetting them and kind of steaming them into shape. And I'll tell you what, it looks really nice. His canoe looks really cool. He's doing a great job. Let's move 3:14 in the afternoon. David, he's talking about limpets. He made a funny comment. He said, if I ever go to a restaurant or someplace to eat and they have limpets on the menu, I'm gonna order a couple dozen, I think he said. And that made me laugh, but it also brought out a realization that he's still doing good mentally, because he's still joking even though he's on day 20 and he hasn't eaten over 4 days. So he's still got his mind and he's still happy enough to make a joke. So I've got good feelings for David. He decided, you know, starvation's kicking in. So he decided to continue to work on his net. His net looks amazing. It's gonna work good, I think. So the cameras are fogging up. The what do you call it? The fog, the humidity is really high in that area. Cameras are fogging up. And then he starts talking about how the difficulty is to be a cameraman at the same time that you're in a survival situation. I agree. That's hard, because sometimes you're trying to show a skill or do a task, and now you got to worry about, am I getting a good angle on it? Can the camera see what I'm doing? Is the battery gonna die? Is there too much wind noise? I mean, all these things go through your mind when you're filming. I mean, if we look back to when Mary Kate cut her hand with the hatchet or the axe, I think that had a lot to do, I still think that had a lot to do with the fact that she was overwhelmed with too many tasks at one point in time, couldn't concentrate fully on her technique. I still think that. So I agree with David on that. So he decides to go set his net. He talks about life after the show, and there's a lot of uncertainty in his voice. He mentions that he's not sure about a career. I don't know if he has a career or not. And these are all valid points. These are all valid things that are bothering him in his thought process, and I understand it. He's using mussels as bait for his net that he made. Hopefully he'll get some fish. Again, I'm still praying for all these people. Let's move forward. About 4 o'clock in the afternoon roughly, we're talking about Justin. He wants to quit. He wants to quit. I don't blame him. It would be tough. You know, we're on day 20. But what keeps his fire going and what keeps him from quitting is the fact that he was a veteran himself, and he wants to set an example to fellow veterans to never give up. And I commend him for that. I think it's amazing. He's going through a hard situation, and I give a lot of credit for him for that. You know, I'm a veteran as well, and I can really relate with him on that. So now he decides to take his net, which was actually his hammock. Remember, it was a net kind of hammock, and he used it as a net. So he's not catching any fish, so he made a very strategic decision to remove the net from the water and start using it back as a hammock again. I think that was a good call. Again, his camp is flooded at this point. He's got like 6 inches of water in his camp. I think it's a good idea to get off the ground, up away. I think that's good. So let's move forward, day 21. We're gonna talk about 8:43 in the morning with Mike. A cool guy. He makes these dice out of wood. He's playing a football game. He's got some shells over there as one team and some rocks over here as another team. he's rolling the dice, and that's determining how many moves they're gonna make and stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. You know, he made a bird trap. He found a buoy, like a ball, and he decided to set up some logs to go bowling. So he's having fun, and all of this fun says a lot about him as a person to me in a survival situation. He's still got his mind intact. He's not going crazy yet. He's doing well enough that he's still thinking about positive things and having fun and enjoying his situation out there. So I give a lot of credit to Mike. I thought that was really cool, very entertaining, very cool stuff that he's doing with these. You know, he's out there having fun. He's not just, you know, barely making it. He's thriving out there. He's having a blast. 9:32 in the morning, day 21. We're talking about Randy. He's talking about wanting to go home. In fact, he's been talking about that for several days. There was an episode that I did commentary on, which ended kind of leaving us hanging on the fact that we were thinking he quit. So he's been talking about it. He's fighting it. He's not used to being alone. So he decides to go make a sweat lodge. For those of you who don't understand, a sweat lodge, they're amazing. I've done them. Some of the Navajos in this area where I live in northern Arizona do sweat lodges. It's really cool because it's a good physical and spiritual, emotional connection all in one thing, and it's really neat. So he decides 10:53 he's gonna get in there and sweat. He does this for about 2 hours. If I'm looking at it correctly, he sweats for about 2 hours. And sweat is not just a physical thing, it's not just an emotional thing, but it's a spiritual thing. It's you know, you're touching with spirits, you're touching with whatever your religion is, if it's God, if it's whatever, you know, you're really getting a hold of yourself in these sweats. And then he got out, and then it shows him walking out to the ocean, and he's like walking in the water. One of the most epic shots I've ever seen on the show. He's walking in the water, he's got his back to the camera, and there's just steam rolling off his body. Amazing camera work. I thought that was super cool. You know, so he's getting in the ocean, steaming. One thing about Randy that I like, he really shows a lot of appreciation for Mother Nature. And he's still talking about how beautiful it is out there. I like Randy a lot. I think he's a cool dude. Let's move forward. Around noon, day 21, looking at Mike. He's done. His goal was 1 year. He made it to day 21. He quit. He misses Barbara, his wife. He loves her. I don't blame him a bit. You know, if I'm not mistaken, he says he's going to miss this place, and I'm sure that decision for him to quit was hard. He misses his wife. You can't blame a guy for that. Let's move forward. About 1 o'clock, day 22 now. Or excuse me, we're still on day 21. We're talking about Justin again. Comes in and starts talking about, he's talking about day 22 coming up. His goal is to climb a mountain in remembrance of the 22 American veterans that die every single day. He's going to climb a mountain in remembrance for them. That hit me hard in a good way, because today I just finished my 22nd day of doing push-ups every day in remembrance of veterans to help raise awareness. In fact, I'll be putting that video together here, and it'll be airing in the next couple of days. So it's just going to be push-ups from day 1 all the way to day 22, all kinds of different locations, and I'm calling out different people, and I still have to edit that video and get it put up, but stay tuned for that. But anyway, let's get back to the show. We're talking about Justin, and he's aware of day 22, and he's got this goal and this plan. I got a lot of respect for Justin. I thought that was super cool. He was talking about boiling the water before he goes up there on this mountain climb. and that the water takes forever to boil up there in Vancouver Island. He was working on it, and he had a big old pan full of water. It was just about to boil. It might have even been just starting to boil, and it spilled. So he's frustrated. I don't blame him. I've done that before. It's really frustrating. Let's talk about Randy now. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he's sitting in the rain. It's a light rain. He's sitting on the beach, got his feet in the water, and he's only in shorts. No shirt on. He's got his feet in the water. He keeps going back and forth on whether he should quit or not. And then at 3 o'clock, about an hour later, he makes the call to quit. So we've lost 2 people now. We've lost Randy and we've lost Mike. I think Randy has some serious skills. I think he could have done really well, but I think he just misses people. He misses interaction, and this alone thing just is getting to him. And he's mentioned that he's really going to miss Vancouver Island. He's going to miss that place and how beautiful it is. And again, Randy's still appreciating everything around him, and even though he quit, I mean, I give mad respect to Randy and Mike, both of them, and everybody up to this point that's quit. I can't sit here and say anything negative about anybody. They're out there on the show, and they've done that for our entertainment, and they dealt with real starvation and real issues out there. So I can't blame them. Let's move forward. Day 22. 5 days left. Excuse me, 5 people left. Talking about Justin. More flooding. He's got 6 inches of water in his shelter, and he's going to climb a mountain for the veterans. And the show ends. I give a lot of respect to Justin. You know, this is the first time in the whole series of Alone season 2 where I've actually touched with Justin, where we've actually connected on something. I give him tons of respect, mad respect. Again, I just finished my day 22, so I know what some of the thought processes that he's got going on in his head. So folks, I want to say thank you for joining me today on this episode of my commentary on the show Alone, Season 2, Episode 7. I hope you got some good, useful information out of this video. Please feel free to leave comments down below with your thoughts. Please feel free to share this video, like the video, or thumb it down, either one. And until next time, folks, have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Later. Bye. Look at my new hat. Alaska. I'm keeping it groovy, brother.